Where does money go after you buy a coffee or pay for a Netflix subscription? How are your expenses connected to the incomes of other people, companies, or even governments in different countries? The economy is not just a collection of isolated transactions. It's a vast network where millions of households, companies, banks, governments, and entire countries are interconnected. Their actions create flows of resources and money that constantly circulate. Today, we will cover who economic agents are, what economic flows are, how the circular flow of income and expenditure works from the simplest model to the global level, and why understanding this model is important for everyone. Every economy is made up of participants. We call them economic agents. Economic agents are the players in economic relationships who make decisions: what to produce, what to buy, where to invest. So, who exactly are they? Main groups. 1. Households. That's all of us: workers, consumers, and resource owners. Households provide labor, land, and capital, and they consume goods and services. Example: a teacher who earns a salary and spends it at the supermarket. 2. Firms. They produce goods and services and create jobs. Example: Nestle in Switzerland sells chocolate worldwide. 3. The government. It sets the rules of the game, collects taxes, and funds roads, education, and the military. Example: Canada funds healthcare. Norway invests oil revenues into a pension fund. 4. Financial institutions. Banks, stock exchanges, insurance companies, and investment funds. They store household savings and provide loans to businesses. Examples: a bank gives a mortgage to a family in Germany. PayPal or Revolut enable instant international payments. 5. The foreign sector. All countries involved in exports and imports. Example: Apple manufactures iPhones in China and sells them in the US and Europe. We've now met the main participants in the economy: households, firms, the government, banks, and the foreign sector. They are constantly interacting, buying and selling goods, providing resources, earning incomes, paying taxes, and investing. But to truly understand how these interactions work and where money and goods flow, we need to look at economic flows. Think of them as the circulatory system of the economy. It's through these flows that agents are connected. There are two types of flows: real and monetary. Real flows are the movement of goods, services, and resources. For example, a worker goes to a construction company. This is a real flow of labor. A farmer delivers coffee beans. This is a real flow of raw materials. A factory ships cars to dealers. This is a real flow of goods. Monetary flows are the movement of money in the opposite direction: salaries, spending, taxes, investments. Example: a company pays a worker's salary. A factory pays a farmer for coffee. Important point: real and monetary flows are always connected. You work at a company, real flow, receive a salary, monetary flow. Then you buy a new smartphone, monetary flow, receive the product, real flow. To see how real and monetary flows work in practice, let's look at a small but illustrative story: the life of a single cup of coffee. Imagine a student in Paris buys a coffee for €3. Real flow: the coffee moves from the cafe to the student. Monetary flow: €3 move from the student to the cafe owner. But it doesn't stop there. Part of the money goes to pay the barista's salary. Part goes to rent for the building, which belongs to the landlord. Part goes to buy coffee beans from Colombia. Logistics fees go to the transport company. Taxes go to the French government. So a single small purchase triggers a chain of real and monetary flows spanning 2 continents. To see the full picture, we need a special model: the circular flow of income and expenditure model. It helps us understand how all agents and their flows are connected. Let's start with the simplest model, the two-sector model. Imagine only 2 groups: households and firms. Households provide firms with resources: labor, land, and capital. In return, firms pay wages, rent, and profits. Then, firms produce goods and services that households buy with their income. This creates a closed loop: real flow, resources to goods; monetary flow, income arrow spending. Example: a farmer sells wheat to a bakery. The bakery pays the farmer, The bakery bakes bread, the same farmer and other people buys that bread. The closed-loop model shows how one participant's spending becomes another participant's income. To measure how strongly these expenditures stimulate the economy, we use the spending multiplier. Let's take a look at the formula. Don't worry, it's simple. On the screen, you can see the formula for the spending multiplier. K. This is the spending multiplier. It's a coefficient that shows how the spending of one participant in the economy affects the total national income. MPC is the marginal propensity to consume, which indicates what portion of additional income people spend on goods and services. In simple terms, if someone receives an extra dollar, how much will they spend and how much will they save? If MPC equals 0.8, it means people spend 80 cents of every additional dollar and save 20 cents. Calculation. 1 divided by 1 minus 0.8 equals 5. This means that $1 of spending generates $5 of income for the economy. But this doesn't mean anyone actually receives $5 in their pocket. It shows how one agent's spending stimulates the economy through the incomes of others. In other words, it's the aggregate effect on the entire economy. Example: a farmer buys equipment. That dollar becomes income for another business or worker. Part of that income is then spent again on goods and services. Over several rounds, these expenditures snowball, and the total income effect for the economy equals $5. Can this effect be negative? Yes, in theory. If spending decreases or households start saving more lower MPC, the multiplier effect can be negative. Simple example: a bakery reduces wheat purchases by $100. The farmer earns less, spends less. The income of other businesses decreases. In this case, the multiplier still works, but with a negative sign. So, the multiplier shows the strength of spending effects. The more people spend money, high MPC, the greater the effect on the economy. Why is it important to know the spending multiplier? Knowing it allows you to predict the effects of government policy and understand economic cycles. High multiplier: spending quickly stimulates the economy. Low or negative multiplier: the economy slows down if people save more than they spend. But reality is more complex. In a modern economy, besides households and firms, there's also the government, banks, and the external sector. The government collects taxes and spends on roads, schools, and healthcare. Banks convert household savings into loans for businesses. External trade, imports and exports, connects the economy to the rest of the world. If the two-sector model shows a simple loop, households, firms, here we expand it to the full economy. All 5 sectors, households, firms, government, banks, and the external sector, together form the national income and show how money moves within a country and between countries. On the screen, we see the national income formula, which shows that total income in the economy is formed from people spending after taxes, business investments, government expenditures, and net exports. In other words, this is the total amount of money circulating in the economy. Why is it important to know how much money is circulating in the economy? Imagine this. If there's a lot of money, people and businesses start spending more. That means more purchases, more orders, more jobs, the economy grows. But if there's too much money, other problems arise. Prices rise, inflation eats into wages, and what you could buy last month for $100 now costs $110. On the other hand, if there's too little money in circulation, people spend less. Businesses receive fewer orders, cut back on investments, and the economy slows down. For governments and central banks, this figure is like a vital sign in medicine. It helps them understand whether they need to inject more money into the economy or slow down excess circulation to prevent a crisis. For consumers, it's a way to make sense of the news. When you hear that the money supply is growing, you already know it will affect prices, loans, wages, and even the real value of your purchasing power. If you want to dive deeper into formulas and examples, a free lesson summary is waiting for you under the video. So we see that the circular flow model is not just an abstraction. It's a way to show how everything is interconnected. But why is understanding these connections important in real life? Why should we care? For example, if the government raises taxes, businesses have less money, postpone new projects, and hire fewer people. This could mean fewer jobs or smaller wage increases. Or the opposite, the central bank lowers interest rates. Bank loans become cheaper, companies invest more, new jobs are created, people earn more income. And that money flows back into the economy, triggering the multiplier effect. By understanding the circular flow of income and expenditure, we stop seeing the economy as an abstract concept and can make better financial decisions. Now let's look at real global examples to see how money and resources move around the world from one purchase to the next. Netflix. You pay a subscription in Brazil or Poland. The money goes to the USA. It funds series produced in Canada or Korea. Tesla cars. Engineers work in California, batteries are made in China, and the cars are assembled in Germany. Coffee beans. A farmer in Vietnam grows coffee. The beans are processed in Switzerland. A cafe in Paris sells it to a tourist from Canada. This is the global circular flow of income and expenditure. The model works for both a small local economy and the global economy. A purchase in Brazil can trigger income flows in the USA, Canada, and Korea. So, we've looked at economic agents, real and monetary flows, and the circular flow model of income and expenditure. Now you can see that the economy is a living system where each of us matters. Every purchase, every investment, and every saving is part of this global circulation. Understanding the circular flow of income and expenditure helps us grasp how the economy works, both in our daily lives and in the world around us. If you found this lesson helpful, support our channel with a like, subscription, or donation. And be sure to tell us in the comments how valuable it was for you. In the next lesson, open and closed economies, from isolation to globalization. See you soon.